What's up, YouTube? Southern Comic Geek coming to you with another haul video. This is a huge haul. Huge, absolutely big. Now, we did have a few keys in this one, but if you want to see what I was able to pick up, stay tuned for the video. So as I mentioned, this was a pretty nice haul. Not too big, not too small. It was just in the middle there. So was able to go to the LCS for New Comic Book Day. So I have a little set of new comic books. New Comic Book Day. I'll let y'all guess who that might be. Also got this one the day before New Comic Book Day. So I was coming back through Louisiana and hadn't seen this cover, and I heard it was actually the first appearance of The Last Ronin outside of the Michelangelo Christmas story from years ago. It gave a preview of it, and the end of it went 10. This is the Eastman cover, and so decided to pick that up from a shop that I normally shop from. This was on a Tuesday, and so everything was not out yet. So I wasn't able to pick up anything till that Wednesday. First off, I picked up the Marvel previews. Got the King in Black. Obviously, that's Marvel's next best thing. Now, whether it's good or not, who knows. Also, like to pick up these little posters, little preview posters, and I get 2 of them, so it kind of continues on over. Same thing with the Bat and Cat. Don't know that I'm going to be picking this one up, even though I'm a Batman fan. Clayman's okay on Batman. Tom King, kind of whatever. So I think I might pass on that one. Red Hood and the Outlaw. Red Hood Outlaw. Notice the title change there. And so in this issue, Jason finally leaves Artemis because Bizarro is gone, if you haven't been reading the title. So he decides to leave Artemis. He rescues Darla Dent, and she goes about her business, and now he's going to come back to Gotham. So we'll see how that pans out. And I don't know how many issues in between that and Future State actually starting, or if in January he's going to come back and be teamed with the Outlaws. I feel like the chemistry between the Outlaws, whether it was the first set or the second set, I like the second set better, I guess, but first or second set kind of does well with him. Whether he is able to stand alone or whether I'm willing to pay for him in a standalone series remains to be seen. So I'd heard about this book right here. It came out last week, but it was damaged when it came into my LCS, so you had to order a replacement copy. The Devil's Red Bride. So I'm kind of a sucker for some of this Japanese warlord stuff, and kung fu fighting, and those cats are fast as lightning, all that kind of good stuff. So kind of a sucker for that kind of stuff, and so saw this. Hadn't really been picking up anything from Vault Comics, but I've heard good things. Picked up this one. It was kind of setting the stage for some stuff, and so we'll see. Probably pick up issue 2, but we'll see how it goes. Ten of Swords Stasis, and so Hickman is building a whole new world. A whole new world. No, not that time. A whole new world. A whole new world for the X-Men as they get ready to prepare a new battle against these guys here on the cover. Of course, at the end of this book, you find out who this is. Hint, hint, if you haven't already. Not a spoiler, but hint, hint, it is related to Apocalypse. So there is that, and again, kind of similar to that, even though obviously more well versed in X-Men lore. Hickman's building out a whole new world that not used to in the X-Men mythos. We'll see. Is it all going to be built for naught? Just to tear down? Seems like an awful lot of work for a little return. X of Swords is kind of at the midway point, and it's kind of so far so good. the real action really hasn't built to the last part of it, and so we'll see. Again, I would be kind of miffed with Marvel if I wasn't already picking up most of the X books, which I was. I was off and on again with Marauders. Hellions I've started picking up. I don't pick up Excalibur. So really I'm only picking one extra title and then these one-shots that they throw in there. Savage Avengers number 13. So I think this series is coming to an end, like the next issue or the next. It's coming to end pretty quick. I picked up on this kind of late, but I picked it up for the David Finch covers, the Mike Deodato art. Jerry Duggan is kind of hit and miss for me. And so the art is really, in these issues, starting to hit and miss as well. Certainly not to the level of Finch or Deodato. So kind of glad this, I'm kind of in it to win it now. I'm into the end. But if it had started out like this, I wouldn't have kept going. All right, so Seven Secrets number 3. This came out last week. This is kind of given the mythos of these keepers and all that stuff, kind of secret keepers and all that kind of stuff, at the same time of telling about this character right here, about his parents, one who is now deceased, died in the first issue, and getting to know his mother as he becomes one of the secret keepers. But it's been okay so far. Tom Taylor, I believe, done the deceased stuff and did well on it. So I'm probably in for at least the next couple of issues. Batgirl 50, this is the last issue before they change over to the new Future Slade, and then the Batgirl title probably will come back at some point. Awesome Josh Middleton cover. That's about the best thing about this book. Okay. I never was a big Batgirl fan. I started picking it up right before Joker War, and then Joker War was okay. As far as the storyline, of course, her brother dies. Her dad, who doesn't know she's Batgirl, blames Batgirl for it. Well, so the reason why I had a problem with this issue in particularly, they introduced the person that's going to, in comic form, be taking the place essentially of Batwoman in CW. Okay, whatever. And she's kind of one of these activists, and she's doing, she's like, oh, well, you're worried about all this, and you're not worried about housing projects. How about we not have housing projects? I'm not going to get into a political landscape, but I don't like my comics to get into political landscapes either. So basically, Batgirl comes to the conclusion that she can't be Batgirl anymore, that she's far better being an activist of some kind, dealing with the people on the streets. And there's a short story after the main one that the Justice League is always calling her up, Batgirl, can you solve this? Batgirl, can you solve that? And she's like, no, I got you got to handle it yourself, boys. I got to take care of this, which to me was total BS. Because when do you think the Justice League has ever called Batgirl to solve a problem? Can you imagine Superman saying, hey, Batgirl, I can't solve this problem. What's up? Really? Can you imagine Green Lantern calling Batgirl? Maybe the Flash, but, it's out of a joke more like it, right? Because what could Batgirl do that these other guys can't? It's like, okay, we got Batman. I mean, why do we need Batgirl? Why? Because she's a girl? And so the story was just whatever, talking about, they're all the time calling her, needing her, but she's down in the trenches with the people and trying to. It's like, if it wasn't for this cover and being the last issue, you would have been stayed on the show. Draken New Dawn. So I got number 1. Number 1 was okay. Somehow I missed number 2, but I saw number 3, decided to pick it up. I'm going to find number 2 so I can finish that miniseries. Heard some good things. Howbeit, I heard them from biased sources like Burt 54 Family Comics. He's kind of biased when it comes to Power Rangers. So, I'll take it as a grain of salt. Mega Man Fully Charged. Got the first issue because it just looked cool. Missed the second issue somehow, and this is the third issue. So, like with the Power Rangers book, Boom's been putting out some great stuff. So, I'm gonna pick up number 2. This is the last issue of Stealth. If you notice one of my last haul videos, you notice that I picked up the missing issues that I needed. And so this was the last issue. It came out last week, but it was damaged. One of the many damaged books I had at my LCS. It felt good last week to not have a really big pull list. However, it was made up for this week because pull list was pretty big, especially when you include the other stuff. Spider-Man Noir number 5. I've been picking up this one because of the killer covers. The story's kind of cool. It's kind of like a noir setting, and so this is the final issue. I thought it was. That's why I was pulling the comic out. It is the final issue of this run. So finished it up. It's kind of a cool detective story. Then we've got Detective Comics 1029, the Lee Bergerma or whatever cover. You can do it this way or you can do it this way. I think this is kind of a take on the Adam West Batman and Robin, that they were climbing up the side of the building and all those guest stars, pop their heads out. I think that's a kind of a take on that. But this introduces a new character to the Batman mythos. Detective's been really consistent. When the Tom King deal was going on and everybody's like, man, you need to get off Batman, don't worry about it, get on Detective. I still stayed with Batman until Tom King finally left, and Tynion has really taken off with it, or put it back to its roots, so to speak. But I went back and picked up Detective, and I've seen what they mean. I mean, it's just a constant detective story, a lot of one-shots or two-part stories, which I am all for. Marvel and DC, if you are listening, if the YouTube algorithm pushes this to someone who can actually see, go back and try this to the Stan Lee era when you said one story, two tops, one of this drawn-out stuff. Instead of trying to force people to buy your comics because there's a tie-in of some kind, here's the thought. Write great quality content and make it at an affordable price, and you'll get people to buy it that way. Oh, there's a marketing scheme if I've ever heard one. Death Metal Rise of the New God. Heard some good things about this. Haven't read it yet. Read a lot of my new comic book days at the hotel. I did not get around to reading that one. So here is another one, Department of Truth number 2. Picked up number 1. Just pick up number 1s, especially when you have writers that have been kicking on all cylinders. And Tynion has been doing that with Something's Killing the Children. He does win, but I haven't never read it. And then, of course, the Batman title. So I said, hey, I'm going to give him a shot just because I know. And I think a lot of people bought this just by virtue of that, for that reason, right? Selling it on his name alone. So picked up the number 1. Art is an acquired taste, I will say. But the end, the last page where the main guy reveals who he is, kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And it's kind of a different premise that, all these conspiracy theories could be true. It's kind of a interesting take. So I said, well, I'm going to get number 2. Number 2 was kind of way out there for me. That's some of the problem with these number 1s that do so well. I mean, they are so bent on giving such a great introduction, which, first impressions are lasting ones. And so I understand the idea that you've got to give so much into number 1 to get the person back to number 2 on stuff like this. Not characters so much that like Wolverine or stuff like that where people are invested over the course of years. But new stories, which require new money, you got to throw a lot into number 1. So I get there's somewhat of a natural letdown to number 2. This one for me is just kind of weird out there. Some pentagram deal. Carving up babies, eating babies is just like too weird for me. I might get number 3, and if it's no better, I'm going to drop it. Then we've got Batman 3 Jokers. Definitely my physical pick of the week, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but this is definitely my physical pick of the week. This was an awesome story. Number 1 was way up there. Just the hints and the drops from Jeff Johns and Fabok. Jason Fabok, got a good first name, so he's already off to a good start. But he they definitely some hints about Batman lore from across the years. I mean, that was just awesome. The premise at the end, and then how the first book ended, where Jason blows the brains out of one of the Jokers. Great story. So they did set the bar really high. 2 was okay. It wasn't as great as number 1, but 2 was still okay. We were rocking along. Normally, when you have a series, they are guilty of saying, hey, they're selling great, so instead of pushing from a 3-part series, let's push it to a 5 or 6 or 7. Problem with that a lot of times is that the story could have been told in 3. I feel like the opposite was the case with this. I feel like that this story was cut off early, that this definitely could have served out a longer deal, whether it was dealing with the PTSD of Batgirl and mainly Jason Todd, or Batman. For that matter, or dealing with the Jokers and how there are 3 Jokers and what all that entails and that kind of stuff. I feel like they could have just done that, but at the very end, I feel like in this one, that they kind of left you hanging enough, because while I did say that sometimes things can go too long, and I think this one was cut short, there is something to be said for leaving the audience wanting for more. When you leave the last issue, you want to say, hey, that was a good cap on things. I wonder about this or wonder about that, so that in the future they might drop that and you're still interested about it. You always want to leave the audience wanting for more, and I feel like this one did that with the way it ended. Batman tells Alfred, hey, I already knew who they were. And he's like, what? How'd you know? And he said the reason why I hadn't exposed it is because what else it would expose. And I'm not going to spoil this for you, because depending on when this video drops and depending on how you got to your comic book shop or were able to read your new comic books, I don't want to spoil it for you, but definitely a good pick. Now, when I said that this was the physical pick of the week, I definitely have to put the Last Ronin up there as the top pick for the week. Unfortunately, I didn't get a physical copy. All those stores that I had were sold out. I did order the Jabroni Tribute deal off 616 Comics. It is now sold out, so you can't go there and get that one anymore. There are a couple of ones. Freddie Williams has one on his website, the guy who draws the Batman Turtles series, among other things. If you're interested, but I know a lot of the places have sold out. The A cover, the 1 in 10, the 1 in 25. So I was kind of just going for one cover, but they kind of reeled me in because some of them looked so cool. And then when I found out who the Last Ronin was, which I will tell you, you might not have heard it here first because you might have watched another video besides mine, but I knew who the Last Ronin was going to be, because it only made sense if you say this is the one that I wouldn't have expected. It's a total change in that Turtles character with the way they act. So again, I won't spoil it for you if you haven't already read it, but that was definitely my pick of the week. And I also got a second cover of the Batman Jokers, and when I find the other 2 or 3, they're regular covers, but they only are sent to stores that order X amount of copies. They're not incentives, but I guess they are, kind of. I don't typically get the 1 in 25s, and certainly not the 1 in 100s that they've done, and I'm not getting the 450 unless it just falls in my lap, because this one actually had a 1 in 450. Right, DC. So I'm not going to get that one unless it falls in my lap, because I will say that I had some 1 in 25s and the 1 in 100 for number 1 fall in my lap, kind of really cheap on a YouTube auction. So I'm not going to say it won't happen. But I'm not going to pay what people are currently asking for those things, or typically ask for those things. It's just not that much change in the cover for me to really worry with. I am a sucker for a Joker cover, true enough, but there's not enough change in those covers to really worry about it. So I did get some other stuff. I picked up this stuff from Creamer Cash Comics, and so Amber, who's on Jay Blitz's Key Unit Auction, was able to go to her store last week. If you haven't seen what I picked up from her store last week, check out my comic book haul tour that I did, and it is day number 3 on that tour. But I get home and I go on an auction. And there she is, and she's throwing up some Wolverine Heat, and there's not much action on it. So really was able to pick these up at a good deal, and I've already got them. So shout out to her for shipping, great packaging, and fast shipping. So hint to other eBay sellers. Well, I guess eBay sellers too, because I'll get in that round in a minute. But to other YouTube sellers, communication is key. If you are going to wait to hold my books, which I am perfectly fine with, because some of these people, they're on 3 different auctions a week, only get 2 books or 3 books. I got some room in my box. I'm perfectly okay. This is how I try to do it. I communicate with the buyer and say, do you want me to hold or do you want me to send now? It doesn't matter to me, whichever way you want to do it. And they make the choice. I shouldn't have to tell you, go ahead and mail my box. Okay, you should ask. But that's not for Amber Keys. That's for some other sellers, which I won't name. And then secondly with that, always send a follow-up because you're sending, supposedly, priority packaging. Always send a follow-up tracking number. And that way you've put it in their hands. You're confirming that you've shipped it, for one, and then you're putting it in their hands to be able to check it. They don't have to keep bothering you with it. I was contacting a seller that I purchased some stuff from, and they're like, yeah, well, no, I haven't mailed it yet, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? I went ahead and had the conversation. Had you, one, communicated with me, and if you had sent it, you gave me the tracking number, I would have known that. I could have tracked it myself. So, side rant. This is Amber Keys. Wolverine number 2, this is the Spider-Woman variant. Wolverine number 1, this is the Premier variant, I believe. Yeah, Premier variant. So I already have this one, so I'm going to put this up in one of my auctions. I wish she would have told me she had this one last week, but this is the Jay Anceletto variant for Hellions number 3, because I picked up the one with her on the cover that I really wasn't hip on, but I wanted to finish the story. There are several of these. One that's got the trade dress, one that's got the green Phoenix outfit. This is the one with the dark Phoenix outfit on it. Wolverine number 1. Now, as strange as this might sound, as many Wolverine 1s as I have, and especially I've got 3 of the banana covers, I got the die cut cover, the Scotty Young cover, all of them. I didn't have a Wrecker A cover, so I was like, oh, okay, well, that's nice. Finally get one. Now, this is cool. It wasn't cool enough for me to start subscribing to the Spider-Man booth boxes and get a bunch of variants that I didn't want, because that would be my luck, right? But these are ones that I've been wanting, and this is Wolverine 5 and 6, I believe, and it's a connecting cover. And then it's also really cool because it's got Rogue and Gammon on it and Omega Red, but it's also a Miko Sion variant, really cool, and it's also the Virgin variants of those issues, so really, really nice. Then I got X-Men 5. This is another Jay Anceletto cover. This is the regular Phoenix cover. There is a Dark Phoenix cover. I already had the Dark Phoenix, so this one I didn't have either. And then this was the bigger book of the lot. This is All New Wolverine number 2. This is the first appearance of the Honey Badger. I didn't notice this little crease over here in the bottom, and maybe she disclosed it, maybe she didn't, but it's no pressing that out with that line. This was kind of one of those books that I wouldn't mind, and I won't mind because it now is in my collection, but I wasn't going to pay what some of the prices people were asking for this character. I'm just not enthralled with that character to do it, but I'll take it. And so this was the bigger book of the lot. Definitely a good pickup. Talking about shipping. So a few weeks ago, I ordered this book right here. This is a 9/8 Avengers 678. This is the Dodderman variant. Maybe I'm pronouncing that name. It's the Young Guns from 2018. Nice road cover, 9.8. Ordered it off eBay. Gave a best offer on it on a Sunday. He accepted on a Sunday. I paid on a Sunday. I expected things to be shipped out by Monday or Tuesday, but no. it took several weeks to finally get my book, and it wasn't the USPS's fault like it normally is. USPS, as y'all know, have been quite slowed down by the increased volume of mail, mainly packages going through there. But that wasn't USPS's fault. They took forever to ship. So when you got your stars, eBay seller, you got naughty stars for the shipping purposes. Item was good and just as described, but the shipping was to be desired, left to be desired. So that's kind of one of those things. Back to what I was talking about earlier with Instagram or YouTube sellers. So communication is key. Communication is key. But it's a cool road cover nevertheless. I also got some books from Don't Forget About Us podcast. Now, when I just said that, did that 80s song go through your head? Yeah. So picked this up. This is Raphael #1. This is the second print. I've already got a first print, but I thought that would be a cool pickup to have. And it wasn't going for all that much. These were actually the books, and I'm undecided as to whether or not to keep them or not. I'm not a big G.I. Joe fan. There's some that I would take if they were there, but I'm not a big G.I. Joe fan. So this is G.I. Joe #2. This is kind of a mid-grade copy. It's a newsstand. But then you got the Canadian variant to this. I don't believe I have any Canadian variants. I have a French-Canadian variant of X-Men 101. But as far as just a Canadian price variant like this, I don't have one. This is kind of a higher grade than what this one is. I might reach out to, there was another person bidding on this lot, and that was what they were really wanting, and I was really wanting this. I might reach out to them and let them know that I'll sell them that and kind of recoup some of my money back. I also got my CGC books in, 2 of them anyway. And talking about that, going live, or by the time this video drops, I will have already gone live with my CGC rant. So check out that video if you haven't already. Also went to 901 Comics. So if you're ever in the Memphis area, I recommend you go to 901 Comics. Every time I've been, they've been really helpful. They like to talk comics and stuff like that. They're very reasonably priced. They don't have a lot of the big wall books that you can imagine when you go into shops, but they do have their fair share. They have the new comics, which they have enough of. For the comics, like say they're the last year, that all the comics that were released this year that didn't sell, they get put into a 35% off bin. So they're really organized. So they put it in a 35% off bin. So they're still relatively new, but you're getting a good discount and they're trying to move them. Then they got a bunch of dollar bins, a bunch of 50-cent bins, and then they got their regular back issue stuff that's priced accordingly. So reasonably priced, love to talk comics, and cool shop too. So if you're ever in that area. So I picked up a New Mutants 98 newsstand. That's right. I already have a direct copy of this. However, if you have been following my videos and following my channel, you know that I'm going to be giving away that copy. So I was needing to pick up something to replace that one. I wanted a newsstand. I was okay with even a slightly lesser copy of this issue as long as it was a newsstand. So was able to pick that up on the cheap. And I looked at the price. This is about a 9.0 copy. And it had 250 on the thing, so it was a fair price in the beginning. But I kind of gave that, kick the tires look and said, I don't know. He said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you 20% off of that book and all your books if you'll buy that and all those books you had stacked up on the counter. I said, deal, because that's $50. So I paid $200 for a 9.0 newsstand copy of New Mutants 98. Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong with that. So these are all the other ones that I picked up from there. Origin #1. This is the age-old story, some loved, some not so much loved, where they finally tell the origin of Wolverine. He's gone by Logan all this time. You find out why he goes by Logan. You find out why he has this deal with redheads. And you also find out his real name is James Howlett. Now, again, cool art, cool story, whatever on the name. But I had all the other ones that I had bought individually, and I never could find anyone wanting to sell them outside of a set, which is understandable, but still, this is the only one they had. So they didn't even have the other ones that I already had. So that worked out really good, really good. Picked up some Moon Knight number 18. Number 19. And picked up a bunch of Batmans in those 300 runs that I'm working on. Batman 335, will fight with Ra's al Ghul. 325. And these are all mid-grade copies, which with the price, because after my 20% discount on those books, you know, most of them I was paying $3 to $4 for, so not bad at all. 329. Two-Face action. 310, Gentleman Ghost. We got 305. 326. And so after that is done, I only need 9 more comics in the 300s, and I'll have 300 to 713, which is the first volume, where it ends. Now, you knew I had to show a little value and love in here somewhere. Got Secret Weapons number 6. Got that out of the dollar bin, and it was 20% off as well. Got a free comic book day from 2017, a little TMNT action. Got Berserker Bound number 4. I'm glad I actually had put this into my want list, which you can do on the CLZ app. If you're not familiar with CLZ, check out Two Brothers Comics. They just did a video on it. It's what I use to keep up with my comics, and I try to, anytime I find one that says, hey, if I see that somewhere, I want to pick that up, try to go ahead and put it in my CLZ on my wish list. Because there's some stuff that I'm really not hunting for. Because when I went into the shop, I knew exactly that I wanted to go to Batman. I'm going to search for that stuff. But this was one of those series that, I forgot I needed that one. Read the other ones, and they were pretty good, which several people had recommended for me to read, and you were correct. I'm going to finish reading this one. This is the last issue of that, and give you my take on it. Got Wolverine number 10. This is from the 3rd volume, if you count the miniseries as the first one. And number 8 from that same series. Number 9. Number 4. Number 61. Number 23. Number 7, all that series. And then you got Wolverine 310, which is a Simone Bianchi cover, and it is from the next series. So they have picked up with the legacy numbering on there, so this one is 310. Then we got Mark Spector Moon Knight number 4 newsstand. And so this came out in 89, I believe. Yep, 89. So this is those and those Wolverines all came out of the dollar bins. So got them at 80 cents a piece. Then I picked up, stopped on my way back in. I was crossing my fingers, going to a comic store that I normally don't visit because they don't like to keep their stuff in order and they don't like to price it except on eBay when you bring it up to the register. Another rant altogether, but I did stop there. I called there and they told me that there were no TMNT Last Ronins. I was crossing my fingers that they didn't know what they were talking about and they missed one on the wall, or really didn't look. You know, you call somebody and say, hey, is there any on the wall? Let me look. No, you know, that kind of thing. So I kind of wondered if that was the deal. They were indeed out, like every other shop that I visited. But I picked up this. This is TMNT number 90. From that IDW run. And I also picked up Ultimate Spider-Man Half, the Wizard Edition. So it had, I kind of debated, it had the little wizard and the kind of floppity but hard type encased deal. I debated keeping that, but those don't really go well in the boxes, and I wanted to put this with my other Ultimate Spider-Man collection, which I only need 2 to complete. and it still does have the certificate of authenticity for whatever that is worth. And so I picked up a couple of things, some Marvel 25th anniversary covers and the like, which I already had. The only one I need on that run, Marvel 25th anniversary, is the Ewoks cover. Kind of a ghost out there, but still looking for it. Picked up some other stuff to sell to some folks, some titles that they were looking for. But that's it. That was my haul. But hey, look, that was certainly enough when you throw that New Mutants 98 in there, all the new comic book days, first Honey Badger, so on and so forth. That was enough. I do appreciate everybody watching this video. By the time this video airs, as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a CGC rant video. Be sure to check that out. And also, if you're not familiar with the channel and you haven't already done so, I forgive you, but go ahead and rectify that by hitting the subscribe button and smashing that like button while you're at it, and the bell notification, so that when videos like this drop, you can make the conscientious decision as to whether or not to watch it now or to watch it later. And if you're not familiar with the channel, or if you haven't already done so, be sure to check out my 500 subscriber giveaway announcement. The link to that video will be in the description below, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the details on that on this one as well, if you stayed long enough to watch, right? The end. So the 600 subscriber video, giveaway rather, I'm doing 9.4 CGC slabbed New Mutants 98, okay, with a Deadpool pop to go along with it. And so what you have to do to enter to win is to go and find a comic book or a pop related channel that you're not subscribed to. Subscribe to it. And in one of their videos, it doesn't matter, but in one of their videos, put the hashtag that SCG sent me. SCG, as in Southern Comic Geek, right? SCG sent me. Put that hashtag in one of their videos. Come back to any one of my videos and put in the description or in the comments that, hey, I subscribe to so-and-so's channel. And that's going to enter you to win. You also have to be a subscriber of my channel. Kind of goes without saying, but, you know, I'll say it nevertheless. But that's it. That's all you have to do. And it also will put you on the wheel when you've done that to win that New Mutants 98. And as an added bonus, you'll get to know some of the people that you might not be familiar with in the YouTube community. I did say that I was going to give a shout out to a couple of YouTubers that I cannot find the name of right now, but I'll have those. And since the other CGC rant video will probably come out before this one, or will come out before this one, I'll do it in that video. But to give you some ideas of some YouTubers that you can go and check out. And so until next time, keep reading and keep collecting. Adios.